You're listening to the Flickcast, a pop culture podcast about stuff nerds love. I am Chris Ulrich, and with me, of course, Joe Dilworth. Hi, Joe. How are you today?
I am doing well. My allergies are trying to make that not so, but hey, I'm doing good otherwise.
It's
I'm
funny.
here.
I never used to have allergies living in California, but for some reason, living here in the Austin Metroplex, in Elon Musk's Austin, I've developed allergies. I'm not really sure why. And so I took an allergy pill this morning, and it was supposed to help. And now all I want to do is cough. So that'll be fun.
Is that like the Tostitos Super Bowl? It's Elon Musk's Austin, Texas.
It is. Yeah, it's sponsored by Tesla.
Do they?
Although I got to be honest, I don't like Elon Musk very much because he seems like a dick and also I don't want to say crook because that might get me in trouble, but he seems,
Smarmy?
not necessarily above board. But anyway, I do like the Tesla vehicle though, especially the SUV one. I'd like to have one of those maybe, but I think I'm going to hold out for the Ford electric truck.
You think if he owned Austin, he would just, when you registered to become a resident, you would just get a Tesla? It's like, here you go.
You would think so. I drive by sometimes going certain places, you drive by and you can see the giant Tesla factory being built. I don't know if they're going to build cars there or batteries or what, but you can see it. It's clearly being constructed near the airport, which is probably where the land was cheapest. But
is there big floating holographic Tesla logo over it?
Not yet, but there should be. There should be something like that.
Be like a video game icon or something.
Well, it'll be like in Blade Runner 2049. It'll be where that girl was projected on this. It'll be like Elon Musk holding out his hand with a Tesla in it. Right?
There you go. That would be
the car
awesome.
for you.
You should,
dude.
That's a good idea. You should give him that for free, and then he could give you Bitcoin or something.
Nothing. Give me nothing in return.
Musk coin. That's what I'm going to start.
Musk coin.
Yes.
Yeah, I just for some reason I always think of him like in Mr. Robot. He's like one of the guys from E Corp.
Sure.
I just feel like Tesla or Amazon. Although I talk shit about Amazon, but the amount of Amazon shit that shows up here every day is staggering.
Yeah.
I don't know why we get Amazon boxes every day. I'm not sure what we're ordering, to be honest, but boxes just come. I don't know.
I'm kind of surprised at this point that I'm not on a first name basis with our Amazon Prime delivery guy because it seems to be the same one every time. And
it does for us too. I think they have the little regions or whatever. But yeah, the Amazon truck, the Prime truck pulls up. I'm like, hey man, what's up?
I'm gonna when I order stuff at Christmas for Prime. I'm gonna make sure to leave cookies outside for him because.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, we were during the height of the pandemic. We were leaving water and snacks and stuff outside.
Nice,
because it's hot in Texas, and also the drivers are still essential workers, quote unquote, out there bringing you shit, even though it's a pandemic. So I felt like the least I could do was offer them a water.
Exactly. Yes.
Thanks for almost dying for my battery packs here, or whatever the fuck. And here's some water. Enjoy. Good job.
Thanks for the new Taylor Swift CD. Hope you don't die.
Thanks DoorDash. I hope you don't die.
Yeah, exactly.
You can find the Flickcast.
Well, thanks for listening, everyone. No.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Yeah, that was it. You can find the Flickcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and Google Podcasts and other places where you find podcasts. I've said the word podcast about 6 times now. You can, if you, in spite of this bullshit that just happened for the last 10 minutes, if you want to go and rate the show, that would be awesome. We'd appreciate a high rating if you feel so inclined. We're still hovering around the 4.8, 4.9 mark. I want to get back to 5.0.
That's going to drop after this episode.
Yeah, it's definitely going to drop. I want to get back to 5, but I don't know. There was somebody who gave us a 4. I don't know who it was, but thank you for that. No, it's fine.
I bet it's someone we know going, I'm going to screw with them.
Probably is someone. Because I said, hey, we're going to get back to 5. It's like, nope. No, you're not. So that's fun. And then if you really love the show, you could support us on Patreon or just send cash. Cash is always appreciated. I'll give you my Venmo at the end of the show. You can just Venmo me some money.
Should we do what are they called? NFT? What the hell are those things anyway?
We should do an NFT.
I don't understand what those are.
I think
they're like digital trading cards or something?
It's a non-fungible token. That's all we have to talk about.
What's a fungible token?
You can't funge it. Stop trying to funge my token.
People are just making shit up now and saying, give me money.
I think so. It's like you're sitting around with a bunch of friends, like, don't funge my token, man. It's just not cool. Anyway.
Well, then drink more. I don't know.
You could pay over 20% for something like that.
They charge premium for that.
They do, yeah. I don't want to understand NFTs. I mean, I have some idea what they are, but I don't really want to understand those because they're going to go away. It's like TikTok. I don't need to be on TikTok either, or whatever. So anyway, So, all right, let's talk about
Let's talk about stuff that geeks love, nerds love,
nerds and geeks,
well,
whatever. Geeks are circus folk, right?
Yes, but they're all. I guess
funny.
they're more on the collecting side than nerds. Now we're going to start this whole online debate. What's a geek and what's a nerd?
Are you a geek or a nerd?
I'm a nerd. No, you're not. You buy too much stuff. You're a geek. No, I'm not. So,
I always thought that geeks were circus people.
Well, they are. That's where that started.
Okay. I remember that X-Files episode with in the circus where the guy was nailing stuff to him. I thought that was a good episode.
Yeah.
You know, I've been recording podcasts for years, which is both happy and sad because you think I'd be better at it by now.
Right.
But this is the first time that I can remember looking at the levels on the recording where I actually peaked.
Really?
Yeah, I've never peaked before. Clearly,
you must have gotten excited. And this is peak podcasting right now.
This is peak. I don't know. The waveform is like boop. It popped up really high. I've never done that before. So anyway.
Well,
whatever. I don't need to scream into the microphone. Clearly, this is a very sensitive mic. I'm so sorry, microphone.
You know, now you mentioned the X-Files, I need to go rewatch that show.
Yeah, I think that might be it might be time for a rewatch. Although there's some episodes that are really ripe for a rewatch, but there are some that it wasn't a winner every time.
No,
it started off kind of good, and then it kind of meandered a bit. But the sort of conspiracy episodes kind of got silly, but there was some real gems in that show. The Glenn Morgan and James Wong show episodes, for the most part,
yes,
written by those two dudes, were excellent. Anyway, yeah, and then there's a couple of. I remember when I first got into the show, you could go like down to UCLA area and buy scripts back at stores.
Nice.
So I would go down and I'd buy like, I want to learn about writing screenplays for television episodes. So I go down and I found a bunch of X-Files episodes, Clyde Bruckman's Final Repose, a couple of other ones from X-Files. I was like, wow, this is really well done. And the economy of language in it, though, the descriptions and everything too.
Interesting.
If you've never read a script before, I know you have, Joe, but if other people haven't, in some ways they're very dry.
Yes.
It's like, interior, house, night, blah, blah, blah. You know, they describe what's going on. Then that's like a chunk of dialogue and whatever. But these were like almost read like novels in a way. They were so well written. Yeah. And you can tell these guys are putting it on the page. And I don't know what version of the script was, how close it was to the shooting script or whatever. I don't really remember. But I just remember being impressed with how well they were written, which probably is one of the reasons why those episodes were so good, is that they were on the page first, which, is not always the case with things these days, especially. So speaking of things that I've always liked, Star Trek is one of them.
Yes.
And we got a new Picard trailer. That was a terrible segue. My God. I'll try to get better at this. I'm sorry. Speaking of things that I've always liked.
I like
So the new
cabbage.
Picard trailer dropped. I like cabbage. No, I don't actually. The new Picard trailer dropped. I'm very happy. I mean, I can't say spoilers because it's just a trailer, right? Would you call this a trailer or a teaser?
It's more a teaser. It's not even a trailer yet. It's really a teaser.
What is a trailer? Does a trailer like have more of a story? I've always found that like if it's a trailer, you're getting kind of a somewhat of a story in the trailer about what's going to happen in the larger movie or TV show.
My idea of a trailer is like, on Wikipedia, well before things are released, it has like synopsis. Because when it's released, it's like plot, and it gives you, the whole plot to the thing. But before that, it'll have like the synopsis. And that to me is kind of like what the trailer is. The trailer is like, hey, here's what our show's about. In a, nice, concise. It's basically like the 2-sentence pitch that you give. Maybe a little bit longer than that. Right. It's kind of when you go into
the elevator pitch.
Yeah, it's the elevator pitch. It's like, hey, here's what's going on, blah blah blah. And I think that's what the trailer should do. It should, obviously not spoil anything. Although if you're building your whole movie predicated on one big spoiler, then maybe that's not a good idea. But the trailer should say, the premise. Here's the premise of our show, right? Teaser is kind of like, here's a couple things that will make people go, oh, hey, I need to watch that, especially in this case, longtime Star Trek fans, right? So,
well, yeah, I think that's not going to be a problem. I think longtime Star Trek fans are going to watch this show no matter what. Although, maybe not. Maybe some people are upset now. I don't know.
Yeah,
I've heard that people are upset.
Yeah, so it's not. I mean, I guess it's labeled a trailer, but it really feels like a teaser. It doesn't gives you some, nice shots of exciting things and a couple bits of dialogue, but doesn't really give you like what
it also tells you, here are the cast members that will be back, probably.
Yeah, here's who's coming back. Here's our cool guest star that we're gonna not surprise you with for the new season.
It's John Delancey. No spoilers.
As Q. But yeah, show the teaser, because it's a teaser, even though it's like around a minute and a half. It's really a teaser, especially since the show's not coming out to next year. Closer to release time, we'll get a trailer or two, right? So
yeah, I also was kind of bummed out. It's like 2022. Come on, man. Right. What the hell? That's bullshit.
But yeah, it does have True Fans trademark. Up in arms, apparently. Although, what I do like, I do like the articles that they're like, well, fans are just going to be pissed off from this, and it's like, and then you look online in the usual places of usual hives of scum and villainy, and the people there are like, oh, I'll give that a shot, and I'm like, where's all this outrage that this one article on
what was
a
site that people were outraged about?
Well, apparently from this teaser. The second season of Picard totally invalidates the ending of season 1, and I was like, "What?"
What was the ending? What was the ending of season 1? Refresh my memory.
Well,
was it just you said
he got put.
They're going to do exploration.
Yeah, he got put in the clone body, and then they we have the crew together at the end. We have a full crew, and let's see what's out there. Let's go out and explore. And that none of that was really in the ending of the first season, teaser. But they just left on their ship and didn't say, now let's go out and explore. I want to explore with these new eyes or something. There was none of that in there.
Well, do you think that people were just reading into that because now Picard has got a crew?
Yes.
It's like the Enterprise is going to go out there and explore.
Yes.
I feel like he's tired. He's an old man. He's got to go home and take a nap, probably, right?
Probably. But because this teaser...
Which he does. Obviously, in this teaser, he's at home. He's like, oh.
Again, that could be like... that scene could be from... the final episode of the season, for all we know, right?
Well, that could be like a world that Q created for Picard, too. It doesn't necessarily mean it's really happening. So,
on the other end of it, John Delancey says he's actually in 6 episodes of Picard, but he said it's over the next 2 seasons. So he's only like I assume he's probably going to show up like in the 2nd season. Picard, hey, we need you. Something's broken, right? Time's broken. And that'll probably like lead into like the last couple episodes of the season and big finale and stuff, and then it'll be more prominent in the 3rd season. Is my guess, just because that's how things work.
I can't see them doing more than a few seasons of Picard. I don't know.
I think Stewart said early on that he could see doing like 3 seasons of it. So,
well, that makes sense then. If he's gonna, if Delancey's gonna be in, like maybe set up this big arc that's gonna happen for time travel.
But again,
time travel is a staple of Star Trek. Yes. I'm sorry, but all the way back to Scotty, and the original Enterprise, Star Trek OG, it's like they still did time travel. In fact, wasn't it called the light speed breakaway factor?
Something like
that. Scotty and Spock came up with that, and then they use it in
the whale movie.
Quest for in the whale movie.
Quest for Whales. Yes.
Not Quest for Peace. That's a different one. In Star Trek 4, and then they and then of course in First Contact they do time travel because they go back in time to help First Contact. So anyway, time travel is a thing. It's firmly established as canon in Star Trek that the Enterprise and various incarnations of the crew have time traveled.
Right.
So what that means for the larger universe, what they've destroyed, when the TVA is going to show up and fix things,
yes.
I don't know.
See, there we go. Wrong.
It's all related.
Wrong multi-conglomerate studio there.
Wait, sorry. Disney does not own Star Trek?
Not yet.
I'm surprised they don't, honestly.
Yeah.
They just own everything.
Give them time.
Give them time. So it's CBS Paramount or whatever that is.
I'm just kind of like, have you seen the 2nd season? No. So you don't. I just no. It just and they're like, well, this is just going to outrage fans, and as all fans, I always love the definitive statements, as we all know. Like, well, no, we don't. We just saw a 1.5-minute teaser of a few scenes that they've managed to shoot so far. While it
seems like they have a lot. I mean, there was a lot in it. Although a lot of it's close-ups, and some of it I feel like was probably left over from last season because There's a couple of like closer close-ups, and like that could be anywhere. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Like Allison Pill's close-up, that could be in last season show,
Right.
Or last season shot. But yeah, I'm. You know what, man? Patrick Stewart's awesome.
I'm watching
and I love. Yeah, I'm watching. I don't even need a trailer. I'm there.
You're not going to feel betrayed if they don't do what you want them to do for the second season.
No, because I don't really know what I want them to do for the second season.
I want them to make Star Trek. I'm not making the show, so I can't really say I want this to happen.
More Star Trek is fine.
You know. So anyway,
I'm glad to see Jerry Ryan back. That's cool. I'm glad to see you know, most of the cast that I liked. Although I didn't see who was his friend, the co-pilot. No, not the co-pilot, but the security. I don't remember her name, but you know who I'm talking about. What happened to her? Is she not in the trailer?
She is in the trailer.
She?
Yeah,
okay.
she's
I must have missed it.
She and Eleanor are in one quick slow-mo shot.
Oh, good. Okay, I've only that's good.
Excuse me.
Bless you.
God.
Goodness.
Sorry.
Yeah, we're dying here apparently.
But yeah, no, they're in one brief slow-mo scene. So yeah, they're in there. So
get a glass of water.
I know, Jesus, dying.
Goodness.
Hold on.
It's not COVID. It's not COVID, folks.
I don't know what just happened.
We'll take a minute. It's okay. We're not even going to cut this out. That's the best part about it. We're just going to leave it in.
That'll be even better.
While Joe struggles to breathe,
let's go to the tape. Yeah.
Let's go to the tape. Yeah.
Let's watch the trailer.
No, man. You know what? I believe in what's the word? Transparency. So
yes.
Even though we're doing a show and we could totally edit this, no problem, and make us sound like super slick professionals, I just like to leave the gaffes in.
Because this is the new normal that we were talking about, right?
Yeah,
you know,
nobody's perfect, man.
Yeah.
I cough sometimes,
yes.
You know, although I do cut some of the coughs out, and Mike was cutting them out more.
Yeah.
Although Mike has got like 12 children now, so I don't know that hasn't been working on the show as much.
Got a
but
whole
I don't blame
brood.
him.
That's impressive and good for him.
Hopefully not like The Brood, like that horror film.
Well, all I ask if he's going to send them out to, you know, murder and conquer the world, that, you know, he gives some consideration to us. You know, I just ask. You know.
I don't want to get murder or conquer.
No,
really.
it's like maybe
not today.
Maybe give me a pass. I'm just saying because we're friends. So
we're boys. We're friends.
I would do the same thing if I sent my brood out to pillage the planet.
I would tell my minions to go past your house and not.
Yeah, so not you know, maybe leave them alone and maybe drop off some extra pizzas for them or something. You know.
There you go. That's nice.
I'm not a total monster.
When you're out there pillaging, you can bring some pizza. Yeah. That makes sense.
See.
So you feeling okay now?
I think so. I think I'm gonna live.
All right. I hope so. We got another like 20, 30 minutes of this show.
All right, I can hang on that long, I think. So anyway, teaser, Picard.
Teaser.
Picard. It's just a teaser. Come on.
I agree with you 100%. I'm happy they're making Star Trek at all, which is why I never said shit about Disco. I never shit about anything. I'm looking forward to the new season of Discovery, too, which seems a little odd that there is one. I will say that because of the way it sort of definitively seemed to end.
It seems so.
But
yeah.
But apparently they're doing another season of that, too, so why not?
I think they're planning on doing at least... I think they have like a 5-year plan for that show, and it might go longer, but I think they'll do this season and season 5, and that'll kind of be it.
Well, I think it was getting really interesting, even more because of bringing in Starfleet and bringing in all that whole like idea of we have to rebuild the Federation kind of thing. Yeah. That was cool. That was a cool element, and I like Oded Fehr's character. I thought he was good. He's got some shit going on, as we talked about before.
He does.
We'll find out hopefully more. But good for him. And good, I'm happy to see all of them come back, and I'm happy to see everybody in Picard because I'm not worried that Patrick Stewart wouldn't get work because I'm sure he would, but it's just nice to see him, playing a character again that he's obviously very comfortable with and obviously really enjoys playing, which is different than how he originally was. Like, why am I in this stupid show?
Right.
Like have you gone back lately or in a while and watched the first season of Next Generation? It's not fantastic.
The first 2 seasons are pretty rough.
Everyone seems pretty awkward. Like, I feel like Patrick Stewart's like, what did I sign on for?
Yeah.
Here I am, this classically trained. I saw some article about how there was this whole thing about height in actors and how they use an example of Picard and Riker, and like Riker towers over Picard in a bunch of scenes, which is true because Jonathan Frakes is a tall dude.
Yeah.
And Patrick Stewart's probably average height, which is nothing, no slight against him, but he's not like 6'4" like Jonathan Frakes. So they're saying, well, he never wore lifts in his shoes during something. I can't remember where I saw that, but the people were like talking shit about somebody who had lifts. Oh, De Niro maybe had lifts or something. Anyway,
or Tom Cruise,
which is funny. Or Tom Cruise never does that. I don't think. He's too busy jumping across buildings and shit. He doesn't have time
I think
to
they just
lift.
did clever shooting having him with Henry Cavill because I guess Cavill isn't as tall as people think he is either. But
Cavill is probably like
average height,
above average height maybe. But if you notice, especially in various scenes, they're shooting from below for one thing, lower angle stuff, and they kind of isolate Cavill. They don't have like a lot of shots with Tom Cruise and Cavill like standing right next to each other.
Well, that's true. Huh.
And you can force that because Cavill could be standing a few steps back and Cruise could be standing a few steps forward in the shot. You wouldn't notice that necessarily to make them the perspective different. There's ways to cheat it, as they say in the movies.
The digital oracle tells me that Henry Cavill is 6'1".
Well, so he's not, okay, so he's like 6 inches taller than Cruise, basically.
He's not overly tall.
No, but that's still pretty big for an actor. What did I see? Like somebody's like 6'4". I don't remember what it was. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But yeah, this may surprise people in Hollywood, that watch movies and TV shows. But actors are kind of small for the most part.
Yeah, they're average height.
A lot of them are.
Basically,
they're sometimes below average, quote unquote, because the movies make everybody look bigger, and they're also super skinny most of the time because that joke about the camera adds 10 pounds. The camera actually adds like 20 pounds, really.
Yes, and a foot in height.
And a foot in height. Well, you just shoot them from a little bit from below. That makes them look taller, and the reason this came up at all is I think I saw an article and then there was a photo of De Niro and Pacino walking next to each other. And De Niro has lifts in his shoes, but Pacino does not. And Pacino is not a tall person at all. Al Pacino, I'm talking about. He's really short, notoriously so. And so the fact that De Niro was wearing lifts, I think it was from, what was that Scorsese movie that they just did together? I can't remember the name of it. The Irishman or something? No. Is that it?
Yeah. It was.
Okay. So it made him like supposed to be look really tall and like sitting there with like attachments to his shoes and everything, and people were outraged about that. I was like, that's movies, dude. I mean, it's all fake. I don't know if you know that.
Well,
those aren't real people. Those are people playing characters. They're not. Robert De Niro is not Jimmy Hoffa in real life. He's not.
Well, that's the whole thing with like 78-year-old Harrison Ford playing Indiana Jones. There's no way that it's like it's not real. Even in Raiders, he wasn't doing all his stunts. Just relax.
Well, no. He wasn't doing all his stunts, but I mean there might be 78-year-old archaeologists though out there. But are they finding aliens? Although we don't talk about that movie, right? Are we
do. I like that movie.
Are we finding the Temple of Doom? Right. Are we finding the lost Ark of the Covenant? I don't know. It's all fake, everyone. I don't know why people get so. I love movies. Don't get me wrong, but it's like, why do people, get so invested? That wouldn't really happen. No shit, it wouldn't really happen.
That's why anybody says something, well, that wasn't realistic in that movie. I'm like, well, none of it's realistic. It's all made up. I mean, come on.
Yeah, there's a dude's off screen with like test tubes pushing that blood out of a thing.
Right.
It's not real.
Yes.
It's all made in a computer now. When you watch, like if you go to the movies, if you go watch Dune, all those spaceships are fake.
I know. It's like, did you know?
There's not a planet called Arrakis. Space does not let you fold space. It doesn't work, man.
Spoilers for the movie Apollo 13. They did not actually go up in a spaceship and shoot it up there. It seems like
they did. But
you thought they did.
But Apollo 13 actually happened, though.
It did. And there are
documentaries,
there are docudramas, but so Transformers, that's not a documentary. There's not really sentient robots on the planet. So if military call signs aren't the same as they are in the real world in that movie, it's because it's all made up. It's a story,
right?
Right. So
I think what though, but I guess if you think about it, that's actually a compliment in some ways to the filmmakers because what they've created is so quote unquote realistic that people get enraptured by it and they think, they get sucked into the world. They have that suspension of disbelief, which is a term we've talked about 100 times. I know.
Yeah.
So in a way, it's a compliment, I guess, like I said. And so why not? Because you're creating this fake world, but people are invested in it so much that they think it's real. And so kudos to you, I guess.
So I just have to point this out. This is weird. Robert De Niro is actually taller than Al Pacino.
Yeah, no, I know. Everyone's taller than Al Pacino. That's what I'm saying.
I thought you said that Robert De Niro had lifts.
He did.
Oh. So that was
It's
why
a
it
shot.
was weird. It's like he's already taller than Al Pacino. Why did he need lifts? I get it. Okay, I see.
Right. Well, I mean, obviously the character he's playing is significantly taller than the character Pacino is
Oh,
playing.
well, there
But
you
yeah,
go.
it was just weird. But it was in a different context. Somebody was talking shit about some other actor. It's like, well, this guy doesn't have to wear lifts. And then, I'm sure it had something to do with politics. I don't even want to get back into it. I can't remember now. I kind of blocked that stuff out sometimes. I just remember seeing that recently and just it just struck me that people were like upset about the fact that stuff in movies is fake. I don't know. It's just
Why did they do a CG King Kong? Why didn't they just hire a real giant ape?
Why did they just hire a giant ape?
come on.
I mean, I'm sure there.
Come on.
How many? I'm sure whatever giant apes are out there, they're probably available. I'm just saying there's not a lot of giant ape movies. So.
They don't get proper representation in Hollywood. Damn it.
Godzilla is probably just sitting there in the bottom of the ocean, going, "Come on, when's my phone gonna ring?"
When's my agent gonna call me? You've made a number of these things. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's been like 10 Godzilla
Right.
movies. Hello.
It's like, what the hell?
When do I get a girlfriend? I want a love interest in the next
That's
one.
why in real life he goes and destroys Tokyo. He's like, fuck this. I can't be in my own movies? Okay.
Well, that's also, he's like, he wants to get laid. He has
there
a
you go.
girlfriend. It makes him angry. He's pent up. I'm just saying. How come there's never been a movie where Godzilla gets laid? That's weird.
I know. Also, Al
Maybe it's not
Pacino
weird.
is the same height as Tom Cruise. So there you go.
Wow. The circle of life.
You like how I brought that back around? That was nice.
Hakuna Matata.
Yes.
I don't know. I was watching Heat again the other day,
it's
as I
such a
do
good movie.
sometimes. Yeah, it really is. And then that whole scene with him and De Niro at the diner is such a good scene. It's an acting masterclass. You just watch that, you go, oh, that's what you're supposed to do. Okay.
I mean, I could watch
That's
just
how acting
that
works.
scene over and over again.
It's an amazing movie, really.
Yeah,
if you
it
haven't
is.
watched it, I know you have, but if you haven't watched Heat, it's really interesting because the two main characters in the movie ostensibly only meet twice in the entire thing. Once at the diner, and once when shit happens at the
Right.
end, which I won't spoil. I mean, it's an old movie; it's like '93 or something, but I won't spoil it. But and not that I'm a gun nut or anything, but one of the most realistic and most amazing shootouts in any movie ever. The bank heist stuff
Yes.
is very, very intense
Yes.
and very well done. A piece of trivia, if you probably already know this, and probably other people have know this because we've probably talked about it before, but the sound effects of the gunfire in the gunfight scene were actually the real sound effects of the blanks going off during the shooting
Yes.
because they looked for other sound effects and they're like, nope, this sounds the best. We're going to use that.
Yeah.
So there you go. Michael Mann, everybody.
He's really good. Maybe we should do a deep dive on his movies sometime soon.
Maybe so. I mean, he's got a weird career in a way,
He does.
if you think about it, because he's done all these like cop movies and whatever, and then Last of the Mohicans. Like, where did that come from?
It's like, wait, what?
And with Daniel Day-Lewis, by the way, what a random person to be in a Last of the Mohicans Michael Mann action movie.
Right. Yes, exactly.
But he is the fucking best version of that character of Long Rifle. What is his? God, I can't remember the character's name. I've read the book too. I've seen the movie 100 times.
I don't remember
Anyway,
anymore.
the best version of that character in
Hawkeye.
any movie ever.
Was he Hawkeye?
Hawkeye.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Hawkeye.
he probably lived that character for like 2 years. I've been living in the bush for 2 years, learning to use a tomahawk
He
and
actually
a musket.
built had someone build him a time machine so he could go back in time and live for 2 years. Amongst
Exactly.
Native
He
Americans.
just inhabits the role
Yes.
so well. We could do an entire show about Daniel Day-Lewis.
Oh, that would be that could be a good.
He's
good
an
one, yeah.
amazing actor.
Yes.
I'm sad that he's retired, but it's got to take a lot out of you to be other people so intensely for so long.
Here's the thing, though. Much like bands that are like, "Oh, this is our final farewell tour. We're never going to be together again." It's and the same thing with Daniel Craig saying after every James Bond movie, "Nope, not doing anymore." I don't take really much heed in actors or musicians or anybody like that going, "Oh no, I'm going to retire." Because
normally I would agree with you, but I think with him, he's actually serious. He's just enjoying making his shoes and stuff. He's just like chill.
I think he's actually preparing for a role in 15 years where he plays a retired actor. That's what he's doing.
Oh, interesting. He plays himself.
Yeah. Let's see.
A fictionalized version of
Yes.
himself. That's interesting. You're right. He might come out of retirement, like if Spielberg called and said, "Daniel, I'm going to make a movie about whatever," and he's going to be like, "All right, Steven," because he doesn't care about money. From everything I hear, he's like, "I don't care about money. I don't care about I just care about the roles."
Yeah, I think actually his wife
gets to play.
is like fairly wealthy, and he's like, "I don't have
I
to
think
do any of this for money." I mean, I know he's made money.
I think he's done okay
Yeah.
too. So.
But I think it was like, I don't ever have to do this for money, which is why he does what he does, the way he does it, because he can take 2 years to become Abraham Lincoln or whatever. But,
which, by the way, amazing as Abraham Lincoln. I mean, I don't know Abraham Lincoln personally because, you know, he was dead a long time ago. But
I would say, I did. He's a pretty cool guy.
But I bet he was just like that.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. Again, and much probably like De Niro and Pacino, those are examples for young actors who just like show up the day a movie goes and they're like, yeah, just give me the script. This will be fine. It's like, prepare, do research, maybe not immerse yourself and become that person for 2 years, but that's maybe not a bad idea either. You know, really learn. It's like any job, learn the craft, learn how to do it extremely well, and you'll get great parts and you'll go far. So anyway,
well, that's probably true. I mean, but some things, you know, you do for love, and some things, and we talked about this before, you do for money, you do for whatever. I mean, when you're a young actor, you're just happy to get work at all, probably.
True.
So you don't necessarily, I mean, I'm not saying they don't take it seriously, but it's like they don't have time for that level of preparation, and they're certainly not paying you for that level of preparation.
Well, at least, I mean, do your homework.
To play, you know, driver in Fast and the Furious 6.
Play Stone Guy on couch.
Stone Guy on couch, number 2.
Although Brad Pitt did that extremely well in True Romance.
And fucking owned, man. He owned that scene. Like, get some cleaning products. I mean, he actually had a name in the movie.
Well, I guess that's true. So.
Cliff or something. I can't remember his name.
I'm just saying, you're never, typically, I won't say never, typically, you're not going to be handed the script for a project the day you're shooting your first scene. You're at least going to have it a few days, if not weeks and a month or so before. Because, you know, for a lot of times you're going to read it to see if that's something you even want to be in, or your agent's going to read it or something. So at least, study the script, figure out what kind of character you're playing, and don't, I mean, you know, if you're just playing like a pizza delivery guy, don't play it like you're, you know, working at Walmart or something, I guess. I don't know what I'm saying, but just do.
No, I understand what you're saying. I wonder about that scene though from True Romance, if that would have had as much impact if he hadn't already been in Thelma and Louise.
Oh, that could be. That's probably true.
Because I feel like True Romance was filmed either concurrently or before Thelma and Louise, but Thelma and Louise came out and he had a huge part in that. I mean, it basically put him on the map because he was great in it. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, he was great in the movie, and then he was also in True Romance too, which by then he was Brad Pitt from Thelma and Louise. So I don't know if it would have had as much impact, maybe, but it probably was. He was good in the scene.
Yeah.
So
So
I keep thinking his name was Cliff, but I feel like that's also his character from Once Upon a Time in L.A. or whatever it's called.
L.A.
To Live and Die in Los Angeles. Or
to Live and Die in Los Angeles. Yes.
That was a different movie.
Yeah,
that's also a good movie, by the way. If you're a fan of action movies and William Friedkin movies, the guy who made French Connection. Live and Die in L.A. is a great movie.
William Friedkin makes French Connection, To Live and Die in L.A. and then Exorcist, right? So it's like, what?
Yeah, it's not too bad.
But that's just, again, talking to like you did for Michael Mann. It's like you make these really good thriller cop movies and then you do The Exorcist. It's like, what? Where'd that come from?
Well, I think The Exorcist came before.
Well, probably, but it's just,
Well, it's whatever attracts you to the material. It's like you're a director. You also want to work because getting movies. There's only one director on a movie, so it's like there's 10 grips, but there's only one director. I mean, I'm not saying grips aren't important because they are, and you don't get films made as much as other people do. Or if you're an actor, you can be in anything, right? In theory, you could be in every movie that gets made if you're a character actor in particular.
Sure.
But if you're a director, there's not as many job opportunities. So The Exorcist, great movie. French Connection, great movie. I really liked To Live and Die in L.A., even though it's not as good maybe as French Connection. But that Wang Chung soundtrack, you can't go wrong with that.
Yes, French Connection though, that's just
it's I mean, it helps to have Gene Hackman in your movie. That doesn't hurt.
Yeah, man.
He's pretty good.
Gene Hackman in movies, too. If we're going to talk about people we wish...
Well, he's also retired, by the way, and I don't think he's going to come back because he's like 90 now. So
yeah.
Yeah, he was great. He was great in Unforgiven, I think, as Little Bill. That's one of my favorite parts of his.
Yes, he's very...
If you've never seen Unforgiven, it's a good movie.
He's another one of those actors that can play a wide range of things. I mean, he can be sympathetic. He can be... a scared guy on the run, but then he can just, even in his later years, exude pure malevolence and just be, and with just a look, too.
Oh, yeah.
It's just like, God.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, he's very, I mean, even in like something like Crimson Tide, he's still very menacing, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Floyd.
I'm the captain.
Floyd, that was True Romance. That was Brad Pitt's character, Floyd.
Yes. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know why that just occurred to me, but
I'm sure that was part of the Quentin Tarantino pass of the script.
yes, probably.
That and Val Kilmer showing up as Elvis, and then you can always tell Quentin Tarantino. It's like we've talked about this before. In fact, that might be an interesting topic for a podcast too. What movies Quentin Tarantino has touched, and what parts of them? Because we're talking about Crimson Tide. There's that whole Silver Surfer thing in Crimson Tide, which is all Tarantino's dialogue, which also is a Tony Scott film, coincidentally, but so is True Romance. But anyway. True Romance also has one of the first appearances of James Gandolfini as well.
That is true, and he plays a great role
as the hitman who talks about his first kill. It's like, I remember my first kill too. I threw up the first time. It's like, wow, what a great scene, you know?
Yeah. Yes. See, if I was Tarantino, I would have had Floyd in most of my movies. Somewhere.
Well, they all take place in the Tarantino verse.
Right. So maybe that's another deep dive. The Tarantino verse.
And he ended up working with Brad Pitt again.
He did.
Into Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, or whatever it's called.
So.
And Margot Robbie, and of course Leo DiCaprio. He's doing okay.
That Leo guy. I think he's gonna be something someday.
He's gonna be something some way. So I don't know why we're all on this tangent now, because we were talking about movies are fake.
Yes.
Right.
Basically. Yes, actors are going to wear lifts. Movies are fake; they're not real, and
but that doesn't mean you can't enjoy them. And the really good ones make you forget that they're fake. That's how you know you're watching a good movie, because you're not thinking, "Hey, this is not real."
But also don't get angry at movies. That's just.
But don't get angry. Yeah, I mean, but I kind of feel like in some ways that's a byproduct of a successful film in some ways, because if the people are suspending their disbelief and they're invested in the characters and the story, and it's like, I can't wait to see what's going to happen, then naturally they're going to feel some sense of ownership over the thing too. So if it doesn't go there, like, people love Star Trek.
Yes.
Right? People wait in line for conventions. People dress like Klingons. People learn Klingon. People do everything. They have there's people who've built entire Enterprise mock-ups in their homes, and stuff like that. And I love Star Trek too, believe me. I think it's an amazing show. I've always been a huge fan since I was a kid, and Star Wars too, but we're talking about Star Trek. So, but I can separate out whether my love for a show by being, I don't think I like what they're doing here, but I'm still going to watch it. But some people can't and don't want to, and they get upset about that. But I don't know if that's bad or if it's just,
I would say
sort of like a roll of the dice.
I would say I can see getting upset if you're like, that story beat was wrong, or, the pace is off on this, which is the most inane thing
it's really slow.
It's usually when people are begrudgingly praising something, they got to throw in, despite the slow pace. It's like, oh, Jesus, really? That means nothing. You understand that, right? Anyway, criticize, I don't understand why, the director did it from, why did he not have any of the actors on the screen while they were doing their dialogue, because it had no input into the story or something like that. But to be enraged because, they're not doing Star Trek right, or they're not doing Star Trek the way I would do it. Well, no duh, you're not making it, dipshit. So shut up and watch it, or don't, or use it to inspire you to go get into the film industry. Since you think it's so easy to do these things, go make a TV show, see what it's like, and work your way up and make your own Star Trek someday, right? So,
some people are, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, to get pissed off because they're not doing it the way that you want them to do, or the way that you think it should be done. That's like the whole thing of all the articles, the 20 things that have to be in the next season of Star Trek Discovery. No, they don't. None of them need to be. That's stupid. Shut up.
Well, they also have to sell.
Yes, I know, but
I was going to say they have to sell newspapers, but
except people read those, and then when none of those things are in the show, they're like, they didn't deliver on their promises. No, they never promised any of that. Some asshole with a website did, So
all those assholes with websites.
Yes.
You gotta watch out for them.
so I'm just like, fan outrage. It's like, that's not, and especially getting into that's not real Star Trek. Well, it is, because the people that have the copyright to Star Trek are making it.
It clearly says Star
Yes,
Trek
exactly.
Picard on it, so it's like, it is Picard. It is Star Trek. I'm
Yeah,
sorry. It has Star Trek characters in it. It has the Enterprise or whatever.
And it's okay if you don't enjoy it. Go on. There's like 500 scripted series a year. You can find something you like. It's fine.
Exactly. Unless it's Jupiter's Legacy, and you can't watch that anymore.
Damn it.
So. I know. I still never finished it.
And why bother now? So
why bother now? Yeah, exactly.
I have been watching, rewatching again for the third time now, For All Mankind, because my oldest son really wants to watch it. So we've been watching.
Excellent show.
It's so good.
And we talked about the show before, the second season before, but I still think it was a bold move how they ended this season.
Absolutely.
I think that was unexpected, and in fact, so unexpected for me, especially. I mean, I'm sure this affected other people. I was like, oh, what? I was like, for a moment, I didn't think it was real. I thought they were just like going to say, oh, and everybody's, whatever.
Right,
and
right.
I don't want to spoil.
Or they would move,
but,
and someone would open their eyes, and it's like, no,
right, exactly.
What
but,
the hell? Yeah.
Well, don't.
Oh, sorry,
man.
It's two characters you've never seen on the show before, so don't worry about it.
Just some extras that, Anyway, but yeah, I was just. Although, since I've gone back and watched the season again, there are some hints along the way that it was coming, and the fact that, they kind of reconcile in the end.
Yeah.
That was the most. I don't know, and her character especially was like taking the risks and doing whatever it took to. So I don't know. I wonder if it was a case of, we only want to do this for a little while so we can go off and do movies or whatever.
Well, and I think because they do 10-year time jumps between seasons, no one's really safe on it. And I'll be honest, since Ron Moore is running the show, I'm surprised anyone lives. But
well, most people lived in Battlestar Galactica.
There's a pretty big bloodbath throughout the years that was on.
Yeah, but the main characters lived.
Most of them. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they had to eliminate a few. I mean, we could talk about Battlestar Galactica for a second, but like Billy, that was a weird thing that happened.
Yes.
And then Duala, which kind of made sense.
Like, what the hell?
Yeah, which kind of made sense, but I think she wanted to leave the show or whatever.
Well, it was the last season. So anyway.
Yeah, it was weird. But Starbucks survived. I was going to say Star Trek survived. Starbucks survived.
Or did she?
Or did she? And I mean, I guess nobody survived at the end if you really want to be apocalyptic about it. They all died at the end.
Well, yeah, they all died because 120,000 years later, it's the present.
Right, exactly. So no one lived.
Except for the two
at the end of Battlestar. Well, I guess that's true. Do they live forever? I mean, do they need makeup? Do they need makeup? Do they need maintenance or anything? Maybe they just survive forever.
They just need some lipstick and eyeliner, and they're fine. No, they were walking around present day LA. So
that is they were LA. If that was an interesting question, though, were those the same two Cylons?
And just they're probably not the same. Well, I mean, Cylons had the thing too.
Wait.
What?
Baltar wasn't a Cylon.
Oh, so how was he walking around present day? All right, I gotta go. I gotta go rewatch it.
I can see Six being there, but Baltar was not a Cylon. Baltar was a human.
That's true.
So how did he survive?
I don't know.
How was he in the end?
They found a crypt in a.
Well, here's the answer that I can tell you. That I think the answer is that he was in her head at the end. Yes, he became her head, Baltar.
That's how it worked. Well, that makes sense.
Yeah. So they were so intertwined that they just inhabited each other's consciousness. In fact, I think there's a scene where...
Or were both of them not physical? Were both of them like a mental projection or something? Or angels?
Were they just angels?
Like Starbuck.
Angel.
Like Starbuck died and she came back as an angel. Anyway.
Or did she?
Dun, dun, or they were just all insane and just hallucinating all of it. So...
Well, but Jimi Hendrix is canon in Battlestar Galactica. So.
I know. I knew it was a long time ago when he did that song, or did that cover of the Bob Dylan song, but I didn't realize that it was 120,000 years ago. So,
well, it's all been done before, and all happen again.
So right? So Jimi Hendrix will always exist on any planet with sentient people.
Right. Well, with taste.
Well, exactly. Sure. Yes.
Sentient people with taste. For left-handed guitar players. So
we should talk about Loki.
Well, that's true. We should get to Loki. So, all right. Here's my take on the second episode of Loki. Are we done with Picard? I guess.
Yeah, let's go. Yeah,
we'll get back to that. Just to wrap it up, I'm very excited for Star Trek Picard, and again, it's mostly because Patrick Stewart's awesome, and I will watch him in anything. I don't care what he's doing.
Yeah.
He could do Chevy commercials. I'd be like watching those on YouTube.
He's been doing videos of the sonnets, which is pretty awesome. So,
love that. Yeah. He's a talented motherfucker. Anyway, yes, episode 2 of Loki.
What's your take on it, Chris?
My take on the episode 2 of Loki is there was a lot of talking in this episode.
Well, there's a lot of talking in the first one too.
But there was a lot of talking.
There's a lot
of like, I'm gonna talk, and then I'm gonna go to another scene where I talk, and then I'm gonna read some paperwork, and then I'm gonna go talk some more. I mean, I'm fine with that. I love Hiddleston and I love Owen Wilson, separately and together. But I feel like there was a lot of exposition in this episode, which, although interesting, was kind of, I don't know what the word is. I kind of lost, I don't know. I didn't lose interest or focus. I'm just like, okay, I guess I just wanted more action. Maybe that's my problem. I'm used to Marvel movies where people like blow stuff up.
One of those. Okay, fine.
I am one of those, yeah. No, I don't mind. It's fine. It just, for some reason, this episode seemed to dwell on the research and paperwork and conversation thing a little bit too much. And I don't know what it is, but there's something, I don't know. Tom Hiddleston's performance in this show is somewhat different than he's done Loki before. I don't know why. It just feels different to me. I don't know why. Am I just wrong?
Yeah,
maybe?
you're wrong.
I don't know.
Okay. I think because he's trying to fake belonging to them so he can get what he wants, I think. And so we just never seen him as an office worker before.
Maybe that's what it is. Maybe he's coming across as so earnest.
Yes.
You know, it's like, I want to help, and
But he doesn't.
Here's my idea.
Think, but yeah.
Well, does he or doesn't
maybe
he?
he does.
I don't know.
Maybe.
So, putting that aside for a second, it's not a criticism. I've watched the episode like 3 times, so it's obviously not that bad. I like the Renaissance Fair thing. I like but the question I have to ask myself is, did the Ren Fair have that Bonnie Tyler song queued up and ready to go? Because that's kind of funny.
Yeah.
Or is quote unquote Lady Loki, no spoilers, so like super villainy planned that she had that ready to go, which I thought was funny too. But because it does seem like it's happening in live in the scene, not just like a soundtrack for us.
It does.
So,
yes.
That was a cool fight. I like where it's going. I think there's a lot of mysteries still that need to be solved, and it's only the second episode. So, what did you think of it?
I liked it. I've been kind of looking at these Marvel shows as the season as a whole, and not necessarily that each episode has to be an episode, if that makes any sense. So, yeah, no, there was a lot of exposition in this one, but I thought it was great, and I thought the acting was great. I liked the fact of Loki now being burdened with glorious bureaucracy. I thought that was kind of
that's a
cool thing. And although, like the scene where he's talking to the woman at the information desk or the librarian, whatever, that's ignoring him until he hits the bell, I was like, I feel like we've seen that gag way too many times in other things. And I was like, well, okay, that seems a little weird. Here's my theory, though. I think understated Owen Wilson is pretty amazing.
Yeah, he's great.
Yes, he's pretty great.
Sorry, I can't do
that. Obviously you were spot on with your prediction for the variant that they were going after, and so that was not really a big surprise.
If I don't know that I'm spot on. I have to. I
know there's a theory that's actually another character, and I just feel like that's a step too far, and that's too much to me. It's like,
I think it's a combination maybe of the two characters.
Yeah, maybe.
But everyone, if you look at online, people are like, oh well, this proves it because in the foreign credits, it's got this character's name. I was like, well, it doesn't necessarily prove anything. Or is it just Marvel throwing you another red herring?
I think again, it's people want. They expect that there's going to be 18 layers in every scene and every Marvel thing, so they mine it for. And it's like sometimes a scene is just a scene. So
well, there are a lot of layers.
there
I mean, there are a lot of
but
things
it's not.
going
But
on.
I'm just saying, like everything isn't multiple layers. Not everything. And
It's
I mean,
not?
because everyone's like, here's all the clues in every single episode of WandaVision as to why Mephisto's behind this entire thing. And it turned out he had nothing to do with it. And then they were pissed off. It's like, well, they promised us the reveal of Mephisto. I'm like, no, they didn't. you made that up.
Well, I still think Mephisto was behind all of it. I'm just gonna say.
So I
Or was Agatha all along?
I don't. It was Agatha all along. I don't want.
Yeah.
That's why I'm leery of saying, okay, so Lady Loki is actually this other character, because everyone's theorizing it and they're like, here's all the clues for it. And then next week when they go, no, really, I am the female alternate of you, everyone's going to be like, they promised us, they didn't deliver. And it's like, wait, well, hold on.
There's a scene where, again, spoilers for Loki, where he actually says, oh, so me, I presume. Which is like, well, if anything, you're me. So it's like, that kind of says, yeah, I'm a Loki variant, but and she's got the horns, and I mean, she could be, we can say who it is, we can say Enchantress, but it's just because her name is Sylvie, right?
But she's Asgardian. That's he would know, I would think.
That's the only proof that people have because of the credits, the foreign credits. I was not joking about that.
No, I know that's why. And so if it turns out not to be, they're going to say, well, they said it was. It's like, no, they didn't. You made that up and found something to try to justify it. So
well, I mean, it makes sense that, I mean, because Lady Loki is a character too. It makes sense that she would be that person, and because in various ways Loki's the trickster, right? So, but I'm curious about where all those time bombs. I love the fact they're called time bombs.
Yes,
that are going someplace
and creating all the
time
strands.
Time Cop is awesome too. It's just, where are they going? Yeah. Well, obviously, I mean, I don't know if it's obvious, but it's creating the multiverse because she wants chaos. But what is her end game?
Right.
He says. So how will this be? This is going to lead to multiverse of madness, and so it makes sense that the multiverse is mad and angry, or not angry, but like crazy, and so. Yes. It's going to be, so that I wonder if that means that Loki will be in Multiverse of Madness, and maybe Owen Wilson too.
Yes,
that'd be cool. Yeah, I like the show a lot, and I like them, and I don't mind them, just sitting there chatting it up, and his explanation of things, and they got to go to, to test the theory by going to.
I like that idea though, that the variants can hide in, mass annihilation events. And
why didn't he want to go to Asgard? I wonder.
Who, Loki?
Yeah.
No, I thought he did because he kept trying to trick Owen Wilson's and Mobius into taking there. He's like, I'm not taking you to Asgard.
No, he said I don't want to go to Asgard, but maybe he did. I don't know. But he still has. The thing is, he has his powers wherever he goes. That's outside of the TVA, so it doesn't matter where he goes. He could escape, but he doesn't.
Because I do think he wants to go to Asgard because he realizes that during Ragnarok he could do whatever he wanted, like bring mom back or foster mom back and all that kind of stuff. So
you think that's his motivation? He wants to go and save his
I think it's
mom?
part of it. And then he can do whatever
but his mom's already,
he had going.
His mom is long dead.
But whatever schemes he had going on in Asgard, he can do whatever he wants in Asgard. So I think he does want to go there, especially during that time, because he can do whatever he wants and no one will know.
Well, I mean, if that's the case, he could do that anywhere. He could just do the same thing as Lady Loki is doing. He could just go wherever.
Yeah, but he'd show up as a Spike kind of thing. I think there is specifically something in Asgard, and I don't know. I don't want to speculate what it is because I don't know. But I think there's something or multiple something specifically in Asgard that he wants to go and do, and that's why he was like, "Ooh, I can go during Ragnarok, and the TVA will never know because it won't show up as a little."
Well, then I guess the question is, where does he go? Where does he go at the end? Where does she go at the end?
Exactly.
Right?
So
he's following her, obviously.
Yeah.
So.
Here's my theory for this show. I don't think there are any time masters, or not anymore. Timekeepers. I don't think there's any. That's DC Time Masters. Sorry, I don't think there's any timekeepers or not anymore. I don't think, especially like if they follow the tropes of everything else. Anytime you show like statues of the supposed like people in charge, and you talk about them and you come up with the reasons why people can't see them, you end up revealing, yeah, well, actually they don't exist at all or they died out long ago, but we keep doing this because it has to be done, or something like that. So I don't think they exist anymore, or I don't think they ever did. And I think Loki suspects that, and that's why he
wants to see them.
Because he's like, oh, gods that can control time, huh? Yeah, right. I got to see this, because I don't think they're a thing. So
when Ravana's saying, oh, they're really, really busy.
Yes.
I mean, she seemed like she was full of shit, by the way.
Oh, yeah, totally.
And I think Owen Wilson, I think Mobius suspects that she's full of shit. Yeah. But it's interesting that every time you see the statues, the one that's, supposedly the one she's most interested in, which maybe is Kang, is always like in the middle, because that's the one. And when they're having that conversation, Mobius and Ravana are having that conversation in her office, she kind of looks over at the statue when they're talking about it. So maybe the timekeepers did exist, but maybe Kang killed the other two, and now they don't want to talk about that, because Kang is going to show up at some point, right? He's supposed to be the bad guy in the new Ant-Man
exactly
movie, right?
So yeah, I think he's either killed the other two, or the Kang that we see kind of assumed the mantle and killed all three of them or something. But yeah, I don't think they exist currently. And I know that's weird in a time travel show, but yeah.
No, I tend to agree with you, because I think that there's such an established bureaucracy, and the people in power like to stay in power, so they just talk about and they revere these unseen leaders, like, oh, that's not what they'd want. They're really upset about this, but they never show them, because then that level of bureaucracy or whatever can stay in power. It's like the unseen masters, which you'll never see because they don't exist. No, that actually I thought about that a little bit myself too, but I thought it was mostly because of Kang, and because he had destroyed the other timekeepers.
Yeah, probably.
And wanted to, wreak havoc with the timeline. He wants the flow of time uninterrupted so he can do his own shit. So,
but yeah, what's her name is completely full of shit.
She's corrupt. Yeah, definitely.
And here's the thing.
Although she, I guess it would follow, because she popped up and grabbed her stick to go do something when all the other time cops were going out to do stuff. But maybe it's. I think secretly she's working with Kang. That's my theory. And I think they're involved, because in the comics they're involved, right? So I think her motivation is to keep everyone doing their jobs.
Yes.
But the larger plan is because of Kang wants something, and so her motivation to go up and help is to keep him happy.
Yeah, and anything that she's like the Time Masters say, or what they want us to do, it's like totally Kang. Or it's her making it up for whatever agenda they have.
No, it's his playbook. Yeah. It's whatever he's sort of suggesting. And then now I'm getting into the whole, it's the Mephisto behind everything. But now it's Kang behind everything.
But there's some, even if it's not Kang, there's something there, because it's like you don't keep showing us statues of these guys without like, otherwise you would show us like even in flashback or something, like scenes of them conferring or whatever. Now we're just
flashbacks.
Seeing,
they could exist.
We're just seeing statues. It's like, yeah, that's going to be one of the big reveals this year. It's like, yeah, they died. They were killed a while ago, and I don't want
to equate it to religion, but it's kind of like religion. It's the time religion.
Yeah, but
like we worship statues of these things that don't exist now. It's like. And again, I'm not disparaging religion, and I want to get that out there, but it's like you go to church and you're worshiping a crucifix with a guy on it, but that guy doesn't exist anymore, right? He lived thousands of years ago.
I just think it'll be...
And so the timekeepers, they're worshiping these timekeepers like gods almost, but they're not really... It's a cult, basically, right? It's like the cult leaders are absent, but they have the first level of minions, like, going forward with it. So
they'll either be something where, like, Loki sees what's her name going to confer with the timekeepers, or Mobius will be like, I'm tired of this, I want to find out answers too, let's go see him, and it's like an empty room or empty space or something, and there's either corpses there that are big gods or something, or it's like, what, they don't exist.
They'll turn the chair around and it's Norman Bates in his mother's dress. Exactly. Wait, no, that's not it.
But I think that's why Loki's like, oh yeah, I want to see them. I want to tell them, give them my, thumbs up. Or it's like, no, you want to prove that they don't exist because Loki was like immediately like, gods, we're gods. They're not. No. So.
Well, that's interesting because maybe he just wants to kill them.
Well, that could be. Maybe he's the one that kills them.
I mean, maybe he's like, I want to take over.
Oh, that could be.
And I want to. I mean, so it could be that simple motivation too. But I feel like there's more layers with him in this show in particular. Yeah. I mean, he hasn't really learned the lessons that he learned in the other Loki arc, but he did see what a lot of his, actions have gotten him, especially being killed by Thanos. So maybe that. He's like, well, I'm going to die anyway, so I might as well do whatever I want. Or it's like, maybe I should try to
change my fate.
Change my fate somehow.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
And maybe that's why he wants
another
to go
reason,
to Asgard.
Well, that could be another reason why he's interested in these cataclysmic events or whatever they call them, nexus events, because can he change his fate? If he's fated to be killed by Thanos, right. Maybe he wants to avoid that. But that's also a reason for him to stay in this, sort of stay in the TVA too, because as long as he's with the TVA or as long as he's time hopping around in these Nexus events, whatever, he won't die.
He exists, yeah.
He exists, right? Even though his variant, the variant Loki still exists. So his motivation is self-preservation, right? So he's going to do whatever he has to do to survive, even if that means the destruction of everything else, probably.
I have a question for you since you've seen it multiple times and I've only seen it once. I thought, and maybe it was just a directorial choice and I'm reading too much into it and too much of a Hitchcock fan, but there seemed to be an inordinate amount of attention paid to the glass that Mobius was setting down on the table that had a ring on it.
He didn't use a coaster.
Okay.
So I'm wondering if, because there's obviously a ring on the table from before, so maybe that's his. I feel like Mobius is a rule follower.
Is he maybe testing her? Because he made a point about the pen, and it seemed like I see you still have these things on the shelf. I wish that I had them because of.
I didn't get those. Yeah.
So it seemed like maybe the whole thing was him testing her because he's suspicious.
Well, there's also a theory that I saw being floated around that Mobius is also a Loki variant.
Really?
Yeah. So it's like, that's why he knows Loki so well, because he is Loki. Oh. And so it's like, he's
in disguise.
He's down for
undercover.
He's down for some mischief. So it's like, I'm going to not use a coaster. I'm going to make a ring. I think, but if putting that aside, but I think Mobius is definitely like a believer, right? Yeah. And so, as all believers are, he's starting to lose faith a little bit in the whole system. So his acts of rebellion, if you want to call it that, are calling out Ravonna. It's like, well, I don't have that. I wish I had that thing in my office or whatever. And also, I'm not going to use a coaster. Fuck you.
Maybe.
I think he's just starting to act out because he's starting to question what's up. And I think part of the reason he's so interested in Loki is that Loki can disrupt the status quo. And so maybe Mobius is like secretly looking for revolution or something. Who knows? Maybe. But I mean, there's a reason for that. They focus on it for a reason, and if it's his act of rebellion, or if it's the idea that he's a little bit mischievous or whatever, or he's just
okay.
There's something off about him. It's a clue. Like
there's something.
Mobius is not what he appears to be. He's like I said, like a true believer sometimes is going to lose faith, and I think he's losing faith in the whole system, which is why he keeps asking about, so what do the timekeepers say about all this?
Right.
Blah, blah, blah.
Right.
He keeps questioning her to find out what's up, and he's like, almost to the point of, I'd like to meet the timekeepers too. I never have. And so I think that'll come to a head at some point too, but I don't think he's buying the bullshit anymore.
Maybe that's why he's relegating Loki to research, because Loki can go find out, just because he's belligerent, can find out bits of information that he can't.
Right, he's in a variant, and he can go and say and do things that Mobius can't, who's trapped in the system. And
it'd be obvious if Mobius was looking for things and doing things.
Exactly.
So he's like,
Mobius must have some regard for Loki, because he was giving him his knives back, if you remember.
Right, until
it's like, here you go, and then
not a
chance. Not a chance.
Yeah.
And she, she's great too, by the way. I love her character.
Yes.
what is it, Stalker B13 or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's awesome, and she's great in that gosh darn it, in the HBO show Lovecraft Country.
Oh yes, yes,
which also stars the guy who's going to be
I
Kang,
know.
coincidentally. What are the odds?
Circle of life, film life.
It is a circle of life, film life. Yeah. So yeah, that's my theory about Mobius. Mobius is the facade is cracking for him.
Yes.
He doesn't necessarily believe anymore. I don't know if he's completely thinks it's bullshit, but he knows something's up because he's never met he's never had his come to Jesus moment or whatever. And so he doesn't believe as much as he used to. And so he's still going to do his job, but who knows? Maybe his motivation is actually more like, I don't mind if the timeline gets disrupted, or I don't mind if things go more chaotic, because that's kind of, it's okay now, because he's starting to question, why do we destroy all these timelines? Because we're basically vaporizing people. Even Loki says that. So you're basically destroying an entire whatever. And it's like, well, whatever. So
nice Owen Wilson impersonation there, by the way.
I'm not good at Owen Wilson impressions, but
it's anyway, a great show, and I'm definitely.
And you're talking about how there's not layers to everything, but they're kind of.
Yeah, I guess there. It's I don't know. I guess it's going too far to say, well, that was colored. That one piece on that over there was colored red because it's Mephisto, and then. I think it's okay to theorize, but to then say that the show it sucks because they didn't deliver on a promise they never gave is a little ridiculous. So.
Right, but that's kind of the extreme, I think, of fandom. Yeah. We're not going to do that. No. I mean, it's okay for us to sort of make guesses and predictions about stuff, and I'm not going to get upset about it. Like, I didn't care that Mephisto wasn't really there. I was like, oh, it's too bad.
No, in fact, I thought it was cool because they went a way I didn't think they would go, and
Right, there were clues to the fact that Mephisto might have been there, because who knows, maybe he was at one point. I mean, you never know. And this show was also filmed for a while and then got shut down for a year for COVID, and they had to come back and finish it. So who knows what rewrites happened.
Sure.
Like with Falcon and Winter Soldier, that whole subplot of the pandemic thing had to be cut, and we talked about how they had to restructure all that stuff. And there was like an episode missing; they never did. So you don't really know what happened to this show. If people have a time to think, they're like, well. But it is curious that the guy who created this show also wrote
Doctor Strange too,
Multiverse of Madness. Yeah, so there's obviously just going to be a tie-in. Of those
I think that's likely. Yes,
it's likely. Yeah, I mean, I don't know that there needs to be sort of a difference between Disney Plus shows and Marvel movies. I mean, obviously they're going to try to accomplish more with a movie, but I don't have a problem with this stuff being canon.
Yeah,
and they can introduce a lot of concepts in Disney Plus shows that can then sort of pay off in the movies in a bigger way, right? So I don't have a problem with that. Nope. Like with Vision, you're obviously going to see Vision again. Oh, here's something interesting. Speaking of Vision, I follow Paul Bettany on Instagram, and he had posted a couple of photos recently. I don't know if they were new photos or what, of him in his Vision outfit, like in the makeup. Yeah, so I don't know if he's shooting more stuff as Vision or what. But perhaps he is. Maybe he shows up in Multiverse of Madness too.
I'd be surprised if he didn't. Was it the normal Vision makeup or
it was the normal Vision? Okay. But that doesn't. But it's a multiverse,
That's
man.
True.
So he could be Vision. He could be White Vision. He could be Black Vision. He could be Yellow Vision. It doesn't really matter. He could be Spectral Vision.
He could be Jarvis as Vision. I mean, who knows?
He could be. He could be Paul Bettany just as himself.
He could just say, "I'm just an actor. What do you want me to do?" Yeah.
For once, he could appear just as himself in the show. It's like, I don't have to wear this makeup and this headpiece and be painted green.
Well, he did briefly
in
the beginning of Endgame. So.
Oh, that's right. You're absolutely right. He sure did. He sure did. Good for him.
Good for him. That's good to see that happen.
Good on you. He was probably thrilled. I was like, oh, thank God. I don't have to
spend 18 hours in makeup. So
I could just be me. Yes. So, and if you've never seen Master and Commander, which also stars Paul Bettany, you should all watch that. And Russell Crowe. It's a fantastic film, which never got a sequel. I'm really bummed about it.
I will. There was some rumblings recently about.
Yeah, something. Russell Crowe posted something, I think, about it. It's like, I would totally love to see that. I mean, I got to feel like it would be pretty expensive to do it, but I would totally watch it. It's a fantastic film.
Yes.
If you like, movies about dudes on the high seas.
It's a fantastic film if you like good movies. Come on.
Well, it's a great movie. Yeah, it's fantastic. It's very realistic, which they did film on a real ship, but it was on a gimbal, so it's not exactly real.
They actually went back in time and filmed it.
They went back in time,
which is filming going back in time is not as easy as people think. You got to take power packs. It's a pain. So I for some reason I was watching after I watched Loki. I'm like, well, I just kind of feel like I want to watch Thor Ragnarok. I know.
So I went back and watched Thor Ragnarok, and I'm like, okay, now that I've watched that, I kind of want to watch, Infinity War. I'm like, all right, now that I've watched that, I kind of want to watch Endgame again. So I watched Endgame again, and I love there's so many good lines in that, but I still crack up when Scott Lang's like, "Oh, so Back to the Future's total bullshit." I just love that. fucking Paul Rudd, man, he's so good. He's like, "That's total bullshit." Like, yeah. And Rhodey's like, time cop, times that this is known, this is how time travel works. And he's like, no, that's not how it works.
Naming off movies, and again, Paul Rudd, Die Hard. He's like, no, wait, that's not one.
No, that's not one.
Yeah.
And also watching that, you get more. I got more of a sense, and I've seen that movie like 100 times now, but I got more of a sense of like, Smart Hulk is still angry.
Yes.
Because there's a scene when he's like Thanos when he goes to get Thor. And Thor like grabs him, like, take your hands off me. Like he's gonna fucking punch him in the face. Yeah. He's like angry.
He's smiling, but he tells him, don't. It's like
he says please.
Yeah, but he says it. It's so like you feel if he doesn't, that he's just gonna put Thor through the wall.
So the anger is there. It's not like I don't feel like he's solved the problem at all. It's just sort of it's another stopgap.
Yes,
got the best of both worlds. And
stay green.
It's just anyway. Stay green. Dab. Yeah. It's just so silly. Take the goddamn camera.
Yeah.
I mean, Paul Rudd is awesome.
He's really good. I mean, I don't think he.
And also, there was a joke going around that I saw the other day. How you can tell that Tom Hiddleston is the hero of Loki because he gets a topless scene. Because he's showing off his muscles, right? All the heroes show off their muscles. And in the first episode, he's like topless. Well, I mean, he's naked, I guess, but the machine covers him. But it's like he shows off his physique. So obviously, he's the hero.
Yes, but he'll never have America's ass. So maybe he has the multiverse's ass.
Maybe, yeah. So anyway, like all Marvel shows, as we've talked about many times, all the shows that have happened, I'm always intrigued. I'm never bored, and I look forward to Wednesdays. I'm still not 100% sure why it has to be Wednesday. That still bothers me.
Now they're moving all their shows to Wednesday premieres.
Yeah, I don't get that. Why just make them Friday? But whatever. Obviously, I'm going to tune in every week. That's funny. And watch them and with interest. And I will, very much look forward to how it all translates and helps the larger multiverse and Marvel universe. And every week I'm excited to hear that dun 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 dun, the whole intro. I'm like, damn, that's good. More Marvel shit.
It's so cool. And I will say this: 13 years on, all those movies and all the shows we've gotten so far, I never feel like on any of them, and I don't feel like going forward that there's ever a point where they're just like, we got our formula, we can just phone this in. I feel like everyone involved in all these projects are committed to making it the best they can and as detailed and well done as they can, and it's so awesome.
You made an interesting point a minute ago about how you don't regard these as like episodes, but it's interesting because I regard them as probably you do more like issues, right, of a comic book. So it's like a 5-issue arc, and each one of these doesn't necessarily have a beginning and an end each episode. And it's just like, and there can be a lot of exposition. There can be, I feel like this was exposition heavy.
Yes.
But I don't know that the next episode might be more action. But these also are hugely expensive shows. And so it's not all going to be, and they just probably shot their wad in action with Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Right. There's only so much they can do.
I mean, they're spending like, 20, 30, 40, a shit ton of money for these shows. So Loki is going to be more of a talky show, which is fine. You know what? The other thing I want to say about Owen Wilson before we move on is that Owen Wilson is one of those actors, which I don't know if he gets as much credit as he deserves, because he's good in this show, but he's not like trying to upstage Hiddleston. First of all, he's great. They have a good rapport. But the other thing that's interesting about him is he's got that just a touch of sadness. Don't you think?
Yes.
He's like Mobius is like, which works perfectly because I feel like Mobius's character is like sort of disenfranchised with the whole idea of his job. He's like weary of doing his job. Who knows how long he's been doing it? He's like, who keeps track? I bet, time works differently.
Right.
He could have been doing it for 1,000 years for all we know. And so he's just like, he's world weary, and he's a little bit sad because he also knows, I think, that it's all bullshit.
You can see that on his face, and he's really good.
You can, and you can see it in his choice of words and his sort of mannerisms. And I think Owen Wilson has that as an actor, which I think is one of the reasons they wanted to cast him in this. And I mean, for many reasons, but that's one of them. And you sort of feel like he's just like, oh man, this is, it's not what I signed up for. Is everything I've ever believed a lie? And even when he's telling Loki how great everything is, you just feel like he doesn't necessarily believe what he's saying.
Yeah,
Not
and
really.
that
he has doubts.
Yeah.
He has doubts, lots of doubts.
And so
he's not a true believer anymore.
And if that plays out, that kind of brings to me a new context to the scene in the first episode where he's just essentially dressing down Loki. It's like, are you telling us how you feel? And are you testing Loki to make sure that he is the kind of the guy that you need to do these things for you, kind of thing?
Right, that you can't do. He's the one who's going to crack it wide open for you.
Yeah, so it's like that to me now takes a different context because he's trying to show, or he's on the surface like the model employee and like, no, this is important work and what you do is like blah blah blah, and you're just a scared little boy and stuff. It's like, is that you right there recruiting him for your secret mission, right?
Yeah.
So
I think it is. I think it is, and I think that his interplay with Ravonna is very telling. He's like, he's testing her, he's probing, he's testing her, he's testing his relationship with her. I'm still your favorite, right? That kind of thing.
Yep.
Have you ever known me to be this way before? It's like he's told the line for so long, but now he doesn't necessarily believe anymore.
Right.
So he's testing, and what better way? I mean, he clearly says, I've studied everything about you. He knows Loki very well. So this is the perfect person to help me expose this for what it really is. That's at least because of Owen Wilson and because of, the scenes we watched, and sort of like, I feel like in any kind of situation like this, in any kind of cultish type situation, there's people who become, disenfranchised with the whole idea. They don't believe. There's, you can't have a whole bunch of true believers.
Right.
Eventually, people start to question things. Maybe
that's why you kill them eventually, because they'll turn against you.
Well, right. What is our mission? What are we really doing? What are we accomplishing? We've been doing this for so long. What are we accomplishing? And maybe this isn't really the proper flow of time, or
now
whatever. And so, what better way to disrupt things than to bring in this variant and basically give him a desk and give him an outfit and dress him like a TVA agent,
give him opportunities to do these things,
give him opportunities, and give him a jet ski magazine so he starts to have hope about other things.
Now, to be clear,
the way he talks about
if none of that pans out, I'm not going to hate Marvel for it, because I fully expect, because I think anytime I've had theories or think I've figured out Marvel stuff especially, but lots of other movies, they turn out to go a different way, and I'm like, okay, that actually turns out to be more interesting. So cool. Okay. So
I think that there's enough clues that there'll be there's
something with him.
Like that.
Yeah.
There's definitely something with him. He's more than he appears, whatever that is down the road. I don't know. But I do get the feeling that maybe it won't pay off in a huge way, but maybe he's just, he's I don't know what the word is, disaffected, or he's just disillusioned. Yeah, that's what I mean with the whole thing. And, that's why. One other thing before we stop, but it's just the whole idea of Miss Minutes too, because Miss Minutes actually must exist, right? Because Loki's trying to whack her with the magazine, and you can hear her little footprints, her little feet on the things. And there's actually, if you notice in that pad they have where they can summon the door, there's also a Miss Minutes button, which I think was kind of interesting. What happens if you summon Miss Minutes? Does she kick somebody's ass or what? I don't know. Or does she eat them? I don't know what happens.
We need to find out. Is she a Flirkin? So.
She might be a Flickcast. I don't know. But she's like, yeah, I am alive, but I'm also, kind of both.
I think it's funny, instructional videos, whether they're male or female voice, have to have an affected Southern accent. Dinosaurs.
Well, Tara Strong does a really
I know, but I'm just like, well, maybe that's kind of their little homage to the Jurassic Park instructional video too. So
it might be, because that's one of the quintessential ones.
Yeah, and it's kind of done in the same
Dino DNA.
Right, and it's sort of done in the same animation and stuff. So maybe that's like, hey, we're just paying tribute to that, which is cool.
Well, or they said, Tara, we want you to do this. She came to the table with a couple of options, and that was the one they liked. I mean, I'm sure she's like, I'm going to do it with a Southern accent. I'm going to do it with a British accent. I could do pretty much anything.
That's true.
She's very talented, so she could probably do pretty much anything. So, but yeah, I like that character too, and I'm interested to see how it pans out. Because at some point Loki and her is gonna have to scrap probably.
But there's something rotten in the TVA is all I'm saying.
I feel like she's like the prisoner, the big white blob that goes after you if you. Try
to she's Rover. Yes.
Yeah, that's what I feel like. I don't know why. I just
could
thought
be.
Of that the other day
would be cool.
I'm like, is she like some kind of enforcer?
Yeah.
By the way, if you've never seen The Prisoner, you should definitely get baked and watch that show.
Yeah, you might want to be pretty high when you watch it. It's
so weird, but
it's
I love
it. I've watched that. That's another one I've watched multiple times, and it's just
Patrick
really
McGowan,
good. And it's
awesome.
just weird '60s Patrick McGowan going. I'm getting tired of playing this spy character. I want to do something just
flip it on
weird with
head,
it, and
and it is weird,
but it works. It's really cool. It's a good show.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, I would watch it again. I recommend The Prisoner if you've never seen it.
Not to be confused with
available.
the 2009 Jim Caviezel,
which was not
Ian
good.
McKellen show, which was tried to out weird the original and just did not. It was weird. It was dumb.
Yeah, it didn't succeed because I think that's a show that was a product of its time. At least that style is a product of its times.
Yeah,
I don't know that you could do it again. You could remake it, but you'd have to like totally reinvent it. And figure out a way to make it different because you can't go back and like improve on it.
Work.
Yeah, but you can't go back and sort of try to do the same thing, but just make it weird, like you said, make it weirder. It's not.
I think we've talked before about there are certain things that are not remakeable or rebootable because they are popular or are extremely good because of a combination of the time they took place in, the actors that brought the roles to life, and the writers and directors that were doing it. There's not many of those, but I think, and I can't really give an example, but like I don't know. I think Star Wars is kind of that way. I don't think you could restart the franchise and do it differently. I mean, you couldn't remake the first movie because that's a product of the technology that existed, the story from George Lucas, the way he directed it, the actors that were in it. It's like, and there's a few other things like that. Most things I think you can do, like Superman, you can reboot Superman all the time. Superman's reinvented itself, over 80 years or more. Things like that, sure, you can do those, but there's just certain things, like 2001, A Space Odyssey, I don't think that's remakeable. You can't remake that.
But you can make a sequel.
You can, which actually I quite like, but...
I like 2010. I'm not a huge... I mean, it was definitely different than 2001, but Peter Hyams is the kind of director where it's like, you want it done on time and on budget. He's the right guy for it. He's not super visual and super what's the word I'm thinking of? Super creative, but he's like a working man's director.
Yeah.
He's like meat and potatoes guy. He's like, I'll get it done, and I'll get Roy Scheider, who's gonna swim with dolphins in his living room and shit. So
there's just and they're very rare, but there are certain things that are that are a sum of their parts, and each of their parts is unique enough that it's just not, you wouldn't do the same thing by remaking it. I think maybe more things that are like cultural impact things. There's no way you can
it's like a zeitgeist thing. I hate to use that word, but it's like it existed in a time and place, and the right people, the right attitude and the right, everything came together and coalesced to create that lightning in a bottle. Yeah, another cliche.
I mean, you could remake it,
like
but
the original Star Wars.
Original Star Wars.
You could absolutely reboot Star Wars and make Star Wars again and do the exact same story. Would it make money? Probably. But it would not have the same cultural impact that it had. It never will, because that's like a one-off huge thing. Nothing is going to touch that again. I don't think there's not that many things that are going to touch it. And rebooting it will never do that. I mean,
I don't think you can do the same thing that Feige's doing with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and DC tried that, but they were too afraid to go all in. But at the same time, it would just be like, well, you're just doing what they're doing. It wouldn't be the same. DC should not have tried that with the movies. They should have gone a different way. I don't know what that was, but
no, they could. I mean, they could do it. I mean, they could make a Justice League thing, and they could make all these movies that lead to a Justice League and to
but
a
it's
couple
just the
like
same.
Avengers.
It's just the same thing, and I think maybe that's why they were afraid to completely commit to it, because they're like, well, they're already doing that. What's why would we want to do the same thing? But
well, yeah, but those things exist in the comics. It's like
No, I
Justice
know.
League is a thing. It's not like it's
I get it. It's
you're
just,
right. I think there was some. I think there was some fear, and maybe they picked the wrong. I hate to say it. Maybe they picked the wrong guy to run it too. I mean, maybe Zack Snyder was not the best choice.
Maybe, although I would really like to have seen where he went with it. I think where they kind of had an issue is they were like, well, our TV and movie universes have to be different. It's like, why? Marvel's not. So.
Well, they want to have multiple revenue streams,
I guess.
man. They need to have.
And I think that probably got too confusing for people, because they're like, well, why is the Flash not in a movie with a character called the Flash?
Well, it's the same for Netflix. I mean, Netflix had Marvel shows. They had Daredevil and stuff. Although those haven't appeared in any of the other shows or any of the movies. I mean, they had Agents of Shield, which is or isn't canon. Probably not now. So
maybe.
But it's a multiverse, so it doesn't matter, right?
But it's just I don't know. There's just certain. Again, there's certain things you just can't do again, I guess is what I'm saying. But
you can't remake Apocalypse Now.
No, you really couldn't, and no one's tried.
I'm just saying.
But
or Close Encounters. But yeah, these things exist.
They're a product of
their
their
time and place. Yeah, exactly. You're never going to get that sort of Close Encounters look. You're not going to get that Star Wars grungy 70s, film stock.
Yep.
Dirty space thing. It's never going to look exactly the same. It's never going to feel the same. It's never going to taste the same. It's never going to smell the same.
Yes.
It's just, and then people disparage George Lucas a lot, and I've done it a couple times too. It's like, why did you do this or that? But he will always, and rightfully so, deserves all the credit in the world for creating this universe and creating it in such a realistic way. I mean, you talk about realism in movies. I mean, I feel like in Star Wars in particular, you could use a lot of this stuff. It looks well worn. I mean, he's like space, like Star Trek was like very slick and clean and a pristine version of the future. Whereas Star Wars, although it does take place a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, as we know, but it looks lived in, right? It looks like shit's happened, which I loved. And that's what I loved about the reimagining of Battlestar Galactica too. It's like, this shit is old, but it makes sense for the context.
I think that's...
So you see these anachronistic things in the show. And like Star Wars, you see, stuff is broken. Luke is trying to fix the robots. He's got to put, an oil bath, and he's got to like get carbon, it looks lived in. It looks real, quote unquote.
I think that was like the disappointment to me of the prequel trilogy, was that everything was shiny and new. And I get it that people are like, yeah, but it all fell apart when the Empire took over. And that's why in the original trilogy, everything's kind of busted. And I'm like, yeah, but it all fell apart in like 18 years. That seems weird.
Well, also Tatooine is kind of a backwards ass planet too, right?
That's true. But even in the prequel trilogy, when they went to Tatooine, it was like not that way. It was sleek and nice, and it was like, wait, what?
It was, and they had these giant, pod races and
right.
shit. With
I was
like all kinds of like, what?
That's kind of weird, but.
Tatooine is a shitty ass backwards ass desert planet because that's where they took Luke to hide. So why would you I don't know.
But like the original trilogy, especially
the whole pod racing thing, didn't
original
make
Star
sense.
Wars movie and Empire Strikes Back, it felt lived in. Felt like these people live and work in this universe. It's not just like they just showed up today to do this,
Well, and the rebels don't have the newest shit because they got to scrounge up stuff to fight. The Millennium Falcon's a piece of crap. What a piece of junk. Yeah. And it's like, of course, it looks. That's the whole thing about the entire movie. Looks are deceiving, right? The Millennium Falcon looks like a piece of shit, but it's super fast.
She's really got it where it
does not
counts.
look like Luke. Yeah, Luke does not look like a hero, yet he is. Right. Han Solo is a scoundrel and a thief and a smuggler, but he's also a hero. Yeah. Chewie's a giant walking carpet, but he's also a hero.
Exactly.
It's like, looks are deceiving, and it may look well used and grungy and and Obi-Wan Kenobi is this old stooped over dude. He's like, oh, I can't even move around very much, but he's a freaking Jedi, for God's sake, and he knocks some guy's arm off in a cantina.
Right.
I mean, he's a fucking badass, but it's like he looks old. He's like hobbling towards Luke during the when the Sand People come. Like, he doesn't look like he can do shit, but he's he's tough as hell.
The galaxy cleaned up as they got a bigger budget. That's the only drawback.
They did. Yeah, people always, I mean, $7 million to make Star Wars. That's not a lot of money.
I would have been nice if they would have kept that aesthetic, I guess. And they kind of did for Empire.
I think J.J. Abrams tried to keep it. It's just, it was a slicker, more polished version of the aesthetic with more lens flare.
Right.
So.
Right. So, anyway. We should probably stop now. We've been going on for a while.
I know this is a long episode. So, all right. So, like we said before, find the Flickcast at Apple Podcasts, at Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, etc. Find Joe and I on the socials. I'm at Chris Yu. He's at What Joe Writes, and of course at the Flickcast. You can also support the show on Patreon if you feel so inclined, and give us some reviews or some ratings if you would. We'd appreciate that. And we'll do this again next week. I'm sure.
We will. Yes.
Because there'll be another episode of Loki. Then we can talk about Star Wars during Loki episode.
Yay!
Star Wars permeates everything.
It does. See?
So, it will. And going back to what you said, there's no way. I mean, there's probably things that do that for other people, but for us, who of a certain generation, it's like that's the thing that we'll always thread back to because it's a huge part of our lives, and it always will be. Like Star Trek is a huge part of my life too, so I will always reference Star Wars for the rest of my life.
Exactly.
So, all right. That was the Flickcast. I'm Chris Ulrich for Joe Dilworth. Thanks for listening.